All right, welcome everybody. I'm super excited that you're here. So today we are going to be talking about boundaries, 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 boundaries. So, what I'm going to ask, hold on. If you are on the line and you're kind of if there's background sound, just mute yourself. It would be really nice if everybody would just be muted while I'm talking. So I'm going to go between slide share, and then I'll come in, and so we'll have some conversations. Feel free to ask questions. You can put in the chat like, hey, I have a question, and I can stop and go in. But I want to make this not only informational, but kind of like relevant. You know what I mean? So feel free to ask me specific questions about you. The goal is to get through the training piece of it, and then hopefully do some hot seat coaching. So I've got a few people that I said, oh, let's do a coaching seat for you. So sound good? Okay, so I want you right now, everybody on the call and everybody listening later, why do you want and need boundaries? Like, this is a word that we all know, that it's just like, oh yeah, boundaries, right, boundaries, yeah. But specifically, so my goal is to kind of show you like the value of boundaries, where they break down, a little bit more about it, and then actually how to start doing it. And I said in the video that I did yesterday, I want to have a boundary challenge. And so I'm going to take the weekend, figure all that out. And then by Monday, I'm going to roll out kind of a program, a free thing where like everybody gets to do this boundary challenge if they want. And the goal is just to help you strengthen your boundaries, because you can't be fiercely here if you don't have good boundaries. They literally go hand in hand like that. Okay, so why do you need boundaries? Number one, to be your own person. Because without boundaries, see, here's what happens. Like, here you are, but if you don't have good boundaries, everybody else puts their stuff on you, or you take on other people's stuff. So you have no sense of who you are. If you don't have a sense, or not as clear of a sense of who you are, you can't really set your course. You can't say, well, this is what I want, because you have to factor in, well, so-and-so thinks that, and they think I should do that. And so literally, to be your own woman, you have to know what's you and what's not you, right? I love the number two is you need to have boundaries to know what you know. What? So when I think of how do you know what you know, a lot of people have this thing of like, well, I'll give you an example. When I was married, I asked my then husband, I think we were 30, and I said, why do you believe what you believe? He was Catholic at the time. I said, why do you believe what you believe? And he said, well, because my dad told me, and he wouldn't lie to me. And I was like, oh, good God. like he had just literally taken the whole ideology, and there's nothing wrong with a religion. But for me, you have to know what you know. You have to be the one that basically says, this is what's true, this is what's not true. So if you don't have boundaries and the ability to go, these are my thoughts, these are my feelings, these are my desires, you're going to be kind of lost. And I want to welcome Kelsey and Karen, my K's. There's lots of K's here. So I'm really glad you all are here. So we're going to keep going back. What I said earlier is we are just going to, let me find this. We're just going to keep going back and forth. And I'm happy to have you all like ask questions, jump in. Okay. So now I can't find my slides. Oh, goodness. Okay. Also, why do you need boundaries is to move ahead and make money. Can you see how, like, I had this idea that if you have poor boundaries, it massively, massively affects your business. I know for me, when I didn't have as good of boundaries, I was in a proving energy. And I needed to be loved by my clients. Not that I don't like to be loved now. I love that you would all love me. But for me, it was so important to be validated and loved. Like, all my codependency got acted out in the early years of being a coach and therapist. And so for me, there was so much overgiving and so much like, you know what I mean? And I remember the first time that I was like, I don't want to work nights. I only want to work 4 days. You know what I mean? But I was like, oh, they're going to hate me. You know what I mean? So I want you to look at, in your businesses, is it set up to completely serve you? What I say is your business needs to serve your life and not the other way around. Is your business set to serve you, or are you serving your business? And so that's one place. And we're going to, again, if we do the boundaries challenge, I really want you to think about how are poor boundaries costing me money? I think, Kelsey, you talked about your rates. Undercharging, massive boundary issue. Giving away too much time, massive boundary issue. So that there's a direct correlation. All right, to have healthy relationships, oh my gosh, I think we are wounded in relationships and we can recover in relationships. But if you don't have good boundaries, it's going to kick your ass in relationships, right? So this is the main place boundaries really, really, really show up in relationships. A lot of us, there's a lot of conditioning. I was having a conversation with a boyfriend recently, and he said, why didn't you tell me that that was bothering you? And I thought for a minute, and I realized, because I'm a 50-year-old woman, well, 50 plus, 50, a few pluses, but anyway, and I said, I've been conditioned to kind of take care of men's feelings first. So silly me, I know better, but sometimes we slip into the old, right? So in relationships, boundaries are imperative. The last one is to take care of your health and manage your energy. Raise your hand if you're an overgiver. I bet I could see everyone's hands raised if I saw you, right? Managing your health and your energy. That is imperative. Okay, so I asked a few of the women who started early why boundaries. So Kelsey or Karen, if you want to tell me why boundaries? Why do you want boundaries? Why is it important for you? And I hear some background sound, so if you're not on the phone, mute it, please. Somebody want to share why boundaries? Can I mute everybody? Hello?
Because I can't give what I'm supposed to give if I'm giving what everybody else thinks I'm supposed to be giving.
Exactly. Beautiful. So if you are if you're in your alignment, you know exactly what, but if you factor in everybody else's stuff, right? Okay. And Kelsey says, well, I can make a living. Hell yeah, Kelsey. Very good. Completely true. Okay. So that's what I want to focus on is we're going to start there. So now we know the why of boundaries, right? Let me see if I can move this. Can y'all see this thing right here? I don't know what you can see on the screen. I'm a little bit of a technology goof. So, okay. All right. So kinds of boundaries: physical, mental, emotional. Now there also is spiritual boundaries, social boundaries, sexual boundaries, but these are kind of the big three, right? Physical boundaries. For example, how many of you were told, go give Aunt Zelda a hug, and everything in your body is like, Jesus, no. And somebody was like, come on, that's a violation of a physical boundary. Where you didn't want to have sex perhaps, or where you just wanted to do a little bit and you were kind of forced into doing more, where I'm in the grocery store and somebody stands like 2 inches ahead from my head. I'm like, those are physical boundaries. We get to control our body, our space, our energy, like our space. Okay. So lots of places that can be violated. Mental. We'll talk more about this in a minute, but that's kind of the mind fuck. I will acknowledge that I grew up in an alcoholic family. And so very typical, there'd be crazy screaming, drunk fighting in the night. And then you wake up in the morning and they're like, that didn't happen. It's like, wait, what? Like, that's an example. Or you're living with somebody and they're doing something that is wrong and icky, and they tell you, God, you're so suspicious and so weird. It's just like, So mental boundaries are also kind of what you believe, what you get to, like one of the things that I say to my kids is, let me have my own experience. And a lot of times in families or in couples, it's like, no, we all have to think the same way, or we all should do the same. And I'm like, and I'm very like, let me have my own experience. So, boundary, when I walk in and I'm like, wow, it's really cold in here. And they go, what's wrong with you? No, it's not. Well, my experience is that it's cold. But those are really subtle ways. You don't even have to have massive trauma, but to hear the subtle infringing upon either like, you don't know what you know, you don't feel what you feel, you're not in touch with yourself. And then emotional boundaries, well, that's all kinds of stuff. I think that's a lot of the codependent, a lot of taking on stuff, people putting things on for you. And we're going to go deeper in that. But a boundary isn't just, nobody calls my house at 9 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? That's one kind of boundary. But there are other boundaries that are a little bit more insidious and a little bit harder to kind of pull apart a little bit. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to keep going. Okay. Where it breaks down, we could go. Let me just tell you this. It was really difficult to figure out what to talk about in 30 or 40 minutes because this topic could be huge. And y'all know I used to be a therapist and I'm specialized in codependency, addiction, couples, relationships, that kind of stuff. So this really is my thing. But what to talk about, right? So this is kind of an overview. And so then when we do the challenge later on, we'll get to the like nuts and bolts, getting things in place. Good? Somebody say good. Yay, Therese. Okay, so this is where it breaks down. Trauma, that is the given. If you have had any kind of trauma, whatever that is for you, there will be boundaries breaks. Because like I referenced, if you live in an alcoholic home and you witness something, you know something, you experience something, and then you're told something else, it's just like, or something is done to you physically, it's like there is an extreme boundary violation. Bad messaging, that could be, think of like, and I want to ask you if you guys had any of these. If you want to share a little sentence about it, you don't have to. Bad messaging is just kind of like who you are, perhaps. There's a lot of gender messaging and cultural conditioning. What if you lived in a family? I'll just give you an example. What if you had a moment of like, I'm so mad, and you get the message of like, nice girls don't act that way. So your body had a feeling, you had a purity of experience, and a message came in that just shot you down. So you learn like, oh, okay, well, I can't trust then. See, boundaries are about, I can't trust what I know. I can't trust this is true. And I kind of have to look outside and figure it all out. Cultural conditioning. I don't know in Slovenia where you are, but for example, I was working with some Asian clients recently, and there is it's kind of a mind fuck, right? You have to be better than everybody, top of class, really brilliant, work hard, prove everything, but then you can't tell anybody about it, and you have to act super humble. So I was working with this person on marketing and visibility, and it's really like, so lots of times when my clients come to me and they have really difficulties with visibility, we look at like what is it culturally for you? Like what, and it's very often if you were, either different country or different culture or different ethnicity, there are cultural or indictments on being seen, being too big, that kind of stuff, right? And good old codependency, woohoo. Y'all know what codependency is. That's a huge definition. But basically, being responsible for other people, taking on other people's stuff, right? Or feeling like you're not complete with other people. So it's kind of a difficulty in relationship. All right, I'll take a sip of water. Anybody want to say anything about this right now? Am I going too fast? Are y'all just like going, holy shit? Okay, visibility is hard for me from trauma and bad messaging. Great. Good for you, Leah, to realize that. It is. It's yeah, but visibility is a hard one when you have been when there's any trauma. Anybody want to say anything? You can either type it in or speak it, or I'll keep going. Is this helpful? Lauren, definitely. Questions for later. Energetic, setting boundaries versus, we're going to talk about that. Absolutely. Yes. For me, also visibility, the nice girl. Yes, nice girls. Oh, I just don't ever, if you have daughters, don't ever tell them to be nice. Be nice. Little girls don't do that. Just is damn it. It is so not okay to do, because again, a little child or even an adult woman has an instinct of like, wow. Like I had a client recently, and she came to call and she's like, I'm so mad and it's horrible. Oh my God. And I'm like, right freaking on, sister. Because when you're angry, you're expressing as opposed to imploding and turning it inward and having shame. And so again, she was an Asian, and she was getting the message of like, oh God, this is so bad. How dare I feel this way towards my mother, right? It was horrible. So that's what we're going to be pulling out. Like, look at what the messages are. You've got to understand, where did this come from? Okay, Kelsey, my mom always tell me to find a recession-proof career and just play small. Oh, that's an example, right? And so here's what happens, Kelsey. There's the messaging, and there's the truth of you, the spirit of you, the fighter in you, the like, oh hell no in you. And then there might, and I don't know for sure, but very often there's another part that's like, I can't do that. Like, who would I be? Like, mom was right. And it's almost, sometimes we get stuck because there's a little child part that feels really loyal to the old messages and doesn't want to betray, right? So that's where my clients experience like stop, start, like go forward, stop, go forward, stop, go. Whenever you feel a stop, start thing, it's that's called a conflicting intention, right? I want to do this, but I was told this. How do I reconcile? Okay, you guys are doing great. I really love all the shares.
I was told once in a.
Go ahead, Karen. Yeah.
I was told once in a sermon, a priest said, when you're talking about cultural stuff, there's that whole, well, women are just, you're just being hormonal. And this priest said one time, female, she goes, it could be that you're overreacting because of hormones, but the reality of your upset isn't because of hormones. It's real. It's real what it is. So maybe or maybe not your reaction is.
Yeah.
But that was something that years and years ago, and it just kind of went, yeah, you know what? Screw that. From that day, I never accepted that again.
It's like women get talked out of themselves. Like, you're just like, it's so fucking dismissive. It is so disrespectful. Oh, don't mind her. She's just on the rag. And it's just like, and sometimes what I found is that when women are hormonal, their truth would emerge because they couldn't hold it back, right? It's almost like but it's just I love these examples because these are the real subtle ways where we get the messages to live in a box. And so the boundaries on the other end are, oh, hell no. And that's why I'm like, fiercely here, you can't accept that for you anymore. You cannot have the life you want or the business you want or be the contribution you want if you continue to play in that, right? So that's a great example. All righty, let's keep going here. Okay, where do we go? Let's come over here. Okay, how it breaks down. So, and I think I talked a little bit about this, but physical, if there is assault, abuse, encroaching, or just not honoring, it's just like, that's where, I don't want to have to go into the whole, just this one alone could be an hour conversation, but that's pretty clear. Mental, if there's gaslighting, do you know what the gaslighting is, right? Like, that didn't happen. God, why are you so suspicious? What are you talking about? Like, this is a difficult one. And I love that people are calling it out. I love that it's now a conversation out there. So every time where you knew something and you knew something and it was congruent and it was in your body and somebody said, God, you're overreacting, or don't make such a big deal, or how do you, stop, that's a boundary violation. And maybe you didn't even know it was a boundary violation, but it was a boundary violation. And so my goal to give you all this background is for you to be on the lookout for this. So it's like, not going to happen anymore. Not going to happen. Emotional. This is where manipulation, control comes in. Again, nice girls, good girls don't get mad, that kind of stuff. Energetic dumping. Like, how many of us have been with people, like, I would suspect if you're hanging out with me, you might be a little empathic, right? That means you're the kind that feels a lot of feelings, and maybe you're a good human and you care about people. And so there's a tendency to be a sponge, or a tendency to like take on stuff, right? So somebody could be, rah, and you're like, now they might intentionally direct it at you, or you might just kind of be that energetic sponge. So those are the things you have to watch for, because that's where you are drained. And it's like you're like swimming in this cloudy water going, why do I feel weird? And I do this practice almost all the time. I normally have a pendulum with me. And if I feel off at all, I just go, this is mine or somebody else's. Like, wow, did I just take on somebody's energy? So sometimes there's not, there's not a bad will. It's just like, wow, that's really like, I can tell, like when the Kavanaugh hearings were going on, there was a lot of women that were in a whole bunch of pain. And so sometimes like a lot of my friends, they were just like, that wasn't even theirs necessarily. They might not have been abuse survivors, but they were feeling the collective pain of everybody being stirred up. So understand that sometimes you got to be really like, mine or not mine? Is that mine? Wait, does that belong to me? So you got to really watch that. Okay. That's kind of a little more advanced level stuff. Okay. Good boundaries. And I want you to come up with your own definition. So these are just a few, and then we're going to get into the how to do it. Okay. The ability to hold on to yourself emotionally. I used to do couples therapy, and I love doing couples therapy. Usually it's very difficult because sometimes, very often by the time a couple would bring their couple to therapy, like one was done, they hated each other. But here's the analogy that I love to understand. You know what a tuning fork is, right? One of those things, like it's like a and it vibrates, right? If you bring another tuning fork in proximity, it will also start vibrating. And that's enmeshment. That's codependency. So the goal where you want to get to is like, that's why I love that I have expanded my capacity. I can hold a really big space. So I can have, when I do my retreats and my work, somebody can be screaming, like sobbing or raging, and I just hold this. I don't get like, oh God, I gotta fix it. I just get like, right? But most people, if you haven't practiced that, if somebody has a reaction, you're gonna have a reaction. And usually what happens is, like, let's say somebody's like getting angry, you're like, oh my God, right? So good boundaries are that. It's like not getting triggered when somebody else is having a reaction. So somebody can have a thing going on and you understand how to hold on to yourself. This concept is called differentiation, if you want to know. So you're able to hold on to yourself in the face of another person's reaction, right? So you're not like thrown all around because maybe somebody around you is freaking out. Any questions about that? That's kind of a big topic. So any have questions? No? Okay, I'll keep going on. All right. To take responsibility for what's yours and not take on what's not yours. And that's a big one. Raise your hand if you have been a career codependent. I know I have been. That's been a lot of recovery for me to get to the point of, and it's okay if you're pissed off, and it's okay. It's all right, because that's why, especially as women, we want to take it on. We want to, take responsibility for it. So to be able to sit and just, I'm going through a thing right now with my son. He's having some difficulty with his girlfriend, and it's really hard. It is so hard to see him suffer. It's really so hard. And I have the mama that I'm like, I want to like fix. And I just have to sit there and just go, I guess his soul needs this lesson. And it's so freaking hard, but well, Karen, you're the expert at this one about our kids, but whoo, Lord, it is hard. It is hard. And that's an example of a boundary. It's like, how much do you let yourself suffer or lose your stuff to either fix or get involved or da, da, da. Another one, and I love this, the ability to speak your truth without guilt, justification, or minimizing. What? Anybody ever water down their truth? Anybody, if somebody says, is something bothering you? You go, everything's fine. That's fine. I'm all right. I made my commitment years ago that I can't not speak my truth. Now, sometimes I might take a day, so I'm not because I don't ever want to say words that I can't unsay. So I might give myself time to, take the charge off of it and then speak that way. But truth is a real top value of mine. But when you're having to care for everybody's feelings, or when you feel guilty, or when you feel like, what's wrong with me that I don't feel like everybody else, you can't speak your truth, right? Anybody say anything about that? Anybody relate? I used to water down. I worked so hard. Yeah. Absolutely, the language, 100%. Yeah, it's a big one. It is a big one. It is a big one. And usually, like I used to have a boyfriend. If I would say, I need to share something with you, rah! You know what I mean? Which was perfect for me because then it made me not be able to, the man I have today, it's so good. Like the last time I did this, I was like, this thing bothered me. And he said, why did you sit on it for a day? Why did you not talk about it instantly? I'm like, oh, I attracted the right one. But it was because I changed, right? Whereas before, I was getting what I was fearing. I was getting the response that would have kept me from speaking my truth, right? Okay. I love all the shares. Thank you. Okay, and the final one, boundaries are the ability to choose what you want to experience. Okay, what in the world does that mean? Ability to choose what you want to experience. See, we have this thing about going along. We have this thing about not making waves and not ruffling feathers. This thing about being everything for everybody or wanting to please. That means you don't get to choose. So for me, when I was married, and I adored my ex-husband, like we were best friends, but he had this, I called it tyrannical, right? Because I'm super sensitive. And so one of my boundaries is always my physicality, my space, right? I'm not going to sit in those days where smoke was in restaurants, I'm not going to sit in that section. I'm not going to sit if it's too loud. I'm not going to sit because I have to really manage my sensitivity by managing my physical environment. So if the lights are too bright or if it's too cold, I'm very, and I'm not an asshole about it. I'm just like, is it okay if we move over there? It's a little too cold. And my ex would be like, why can't you sit here? Everybody else can sit here. And like that subtle, like shaming, put down. And so he was being all virtuous because he could tolerate anything. And I'm like, but I can't. And so it was a lot of years of fighting for, it's okay for me to have what I want. It's okay for me to be in an environment that suits my sensitivity. But I had to fight like hell for that one because I was made wrong and made wrong and made wrong and made wrong and made wrong. And on one hand, it seems virtuous, like, can't you just sit and shut up? Like, why are you making sit? And I'm not making a scene. I'm just like, I ordered this steak and it's like way too rare. And I would be told, well, can't you just eat it? And my logical head's like, what is wrong with you? We paid $30 for a freaking steak. Why would I eat something that isn't prepared right? But there's this, see it out there, there's this like, it's virtuous just to accept what you get and just don't question. And so I was battling a lot of cultural constructs of like, it's way better just to be a nice person and just not make waves and not send stuff back. Do you understand that? Has anybody had that? Because that's a big mind fuck, and it's not done with anger or rage. It's just done, well, like, God, can't you just get along? Why do you have to be that way? Is that just me or in Bill's habit? And I know it's not just me. So out yourselves. I want to hear y'all have this one because it's a huge one. It's a huge one. See, part of the Fiercely Here manifesto is you're not afraid to take up space. You're not afraid to ruffle feathers. You're not afraid to be that woman in the room that's like, that won't do. And we've been conditioned to be that woman in the room. Right. Accept what you've been served. Absolutely. And so this, for me, it's real subtle because today I don't have people violating, nobody's screaming in my face and doing heinous things. It's the subtleties that make it even richer. Like, wait, oh no, I'm out from under that one too. Like I say, let me have my own experience. And if I say something to my children, they'll go, Mom, let us have our own experience. And I'm like, oh, you're right. So it's funny when your kids throw it back at you. Alrighty. So let's see. The last one we're here is you'll choose what you want. So freaking important. Okay, where to start? Okay, so number one, you're going to determine, like, do I have a problem with boundaries? So you could be like on a scale of 1 to 10, right? 1 is, I got no problem at all. I have such an easy time. I establish any boundary I need. I'm completely confident. 10 is like, what's a boundary? What? Okay, so get honest, and I want you to do it now, assign yourself a number. Like 10 is like, I am so challenged with boundaries. I don't have them in place. I struggle with them. 1 is easy peasy, got this. Okay, so number 1, get honest. And if you're watching this later, I want you to put this in the comments too, okay? Number 2, decide to change. Nothing changes until you decide. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. That's the thing. Because right now, you will be living unconsciously. You'll just be living as like, well, that's what I was given. That's how it's always been. Well, nobody else in my family has done this. Well, this is as good as it gets. Bullshit. You decide you want a different experience. Okay? Now you start small. Because the reality is, nothing's going to be like, whoo. It's not like cleaning the garage. It's not like I'm going to take the weekend, boom, done. I wish it were that easy. No, maybe it's a boundary. Maybe it could be that easy. I don't know. I think when there's emotional charges and lots of history and all kinds of stuff coming at you, it's a little bit harder to change. So you could do it either way. You could either say, this is the biggest boulder. This is the biggest honking either boundary violation or boundary violator, or this is the biggest infringement. I'm going to go for the big one. Or you could say, this is a small one, because gosh, if I could do that, that would get me some confidence and I could get some momentum on. Like, I'm going to start with a small one. Okay? All right, so decide and then start. Wait, I said start small, but if you want to start big, rock it, right? Okay, remember the why of this, because I have to tell you, when you go into this, you're gonna get pushed. It's not like whenever you, especially like if you have a boundary of I'm going to turn my phone off at 9 o'clock at night so nobody calls. I don't want to be disturbed. Who cares, right? That's not a big deal. But if you have a boundary of, you know, the person that is verbally abusive to me no longer gets to do that, you're going to get pushed back. So I'll tell you a personal story. And this is confidential, so I will share this in this space. I don't share it in the bigger Facebook. After my mom died, I'm not going to use the name, but I had a family member that hadn't had a great relationship, but it became even more toxic, very toxic bullying. And after years of, you know, it was bad, but my mom was alive, and I'm like, well, I'll just tolerate it for her. And then when she died, the bullying escalated and it just got. And so I made the decision, I'll share a little bit more about how I did that, but I made the decision, like, I don't want to have a relationship with this person anymore. And I got such shit. Like, I cannot tell you. Actually, that's how the Fiercely Here brand came about, because one of my relatives wrote me like the most heinous hate letters I had ever. I just am like what? And I found myself pushing back in a way I've never pushed back. Because before I would have been like, oh, I'm sorry, I know. And I just am like, you will not speak. No. And I woke up and I'm like, damn, that was kind of fierce. I've never done that before. But what I'm saying is, not only did I have to push back on this person, I had a lot of family members that, and so I had to get okay, like, yeah, I'm an asshole. I don't care what you think. You know what I mean? Not that I'm really an asshole, but in their mind, I had to get okay to be free of that. I had to get okay. It took a lot to have the strength to say it doesn't matter what y'all think. So what I'm saying is, you will get pushback. You'll get pushback if it's a relationship or people. And so sometimes maybe it's your dry cleaner that is shitty to you. Start there. You know what I mean? Go to a different dry cleaner. So because I'm telling you, when you start changing family dynamics and relationships, people don't roll so easily. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of strength. And that's why it's imperative that you remember the why. Remember the why. Okay. Now, second part, it's your right to have a boundary. You get to have a boundary. Now, so here's what you're going to do. What I want you to do is I want you to imagine that you're going to set a boundary. Okay. You're going to set a boundary. So you've got a person you need to have a conversation with, or you're making a decision. What's going to happen then is resistance. And that's going to show up in the form of self-talk. So for me, it was, I can't do that because what would my mother think, right? Or, oh my gosh, you know, whatever the thing is. So you're going to first like decide to set a boundary, decide what the boundary is, and then notice like, oh, this is what's going to happen. Okay, so what's your little psyche telling you? That's really imperative. You got to find it, because if you don't know that, you're going to be a hostage to it. So you want to understand, like, wow, everything in me is screaming, everything in me is afraid. That's what the problem is like, oh, it's telling me boom, boom, boom. And then I've got tools to negotiate on that. That's a whole other conversation. But if you understand what the resistance is, then you can dive in. Well, I'd be afraid that everybody's going to be mad at me. Okay, then what? Well, then they'd be mad. Okay, then what? They might leave. Okay, and then what? Then I'd be alone. Okay, then what? See what I mean? You just drill it to the end. Another part of this that I think is kind of fun, and I put my name here, but you can use anybody, it's what would Therese or blank tell me to do here, right? My clients call me Mama T, and they know I'm a huge stand for them. And a lot of clients, they actually use this. It's called like introject. So like you're like, I can't do boundaries. Wait, what would Therese tell me? Oh, Therese would tell me to say this. Okay, I'll say that. It's like borrowing the functioning or borrowing the strength or the belief of somebody else. Doesn't have to be me. It could be God. It could be your mother. It could be Buddha. It doesn't matter who it is, but somebody that is having a stand for you and wants you to have what you want, right? So if you're collapsing with the self-talk, you ask, okay, oh yeah, Therese would tell me that I deserve this, and I could tell them to go to hell if I want. Okay, I could do that. Maybe I won't say the hell part, but I would do it, right? And so then you give yourself permission. You give yourself permission. Okay, I'm going to do it. Then you set the boundary. Now you can set a boundary in writing. You could set a boundary face-to-face. You could set a boundary via text. It's not about them. It's about you. Whatever's the easiest way for you, the way you need. It doesn't matter what they or it needs. It's setting a boundary for you. So I got a little bit more, but any questions about that or comments or feedback? And thank you for the numbers. I appreciate you guys did that. Any questions? Should I keep going? Thank you. Come on, talk to me. I'm an extrovert. I need somebody to talk to me a little bit. Come on, girls.
I don't know if this is an appropriate part of the conversation, but it seems like it is.
Okay.
Where's the line, or what's the difference between your boundaries and because, well, it absolutely is a difference. Your boundaries and your over concern with what everybody else,
yes,
everybody else's expectations, or what everybody else is thinking, or whatever, all of that stuff.
So that would be kind of a codependent thing. You know what I mean? Because, ask yourself, why is the over concern? What's the underneath the over concern? And is that just rhetorical, or is that a real world example for you?
No, so do you want me to give you where I was going?
If you want to, yeah, sure.
So you've talked before about how I was raised to be more fierce.
Yes.
However, I was also raised to be, there was a huge amounts of expectations on me.
Right.
So because of all of these expectations that were there, and being raised to be kind of rebellious, because I was raised to be rebellious. So my response was, fuck you guys, I'm not going to do anything.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Well, that's not serving me.
Right. So it really is, Karen, that's such a great point. So it really is, the boundaries allow you to sort out what's me, what's not me, what's mine, what's not mine, what's expected, what do I really want. And so it's really natural and normal to rebel. And so now at this age in your life, you go, do I still need to keep rebelling? Is there a part of it that it is true? Part of it's not. So boundary, it's like a sorting process. And so that's the gift of it. Like, okay, now what do I want? And I might like some of it and I might not like any of it. I get to choose though. But a rebellion, a fuck you, is just it looks like it's a boundary, but it's actually not a boundary, because it's not a conscious thing. It's like a compensation. It's like, nope.
Exactly. And so it's like, where's the part where I go, I really don't care whether you want me to do what you want me to do. I don't care. In fact, most of the people that are deciding all this stuff are dead. So I don't even care.
Bingo.
Can I just do what I want?
That's the boundary. You get, but see, it's work. That's the thing. Otherwise, you live unconsciously. You live, or you live in reaction to, right? So here's 180 degrees from sick is still sick. But, so either I am them or the opposite of them. You're still in relationship to them.
Right.
As opposed to what's my desire. And it takes work. And it's just like what would I love? What would I love? What would I love? What do I want? What's in my heart? So as opposed to, this is what was given to me. This is how I reacted to it. Now you get the gift of selection. How cool is that?
Very cool.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that question. That's a great question. All right. Permission, set boundaries. All right, let's go. Here we go. All right. I love this one. No is a complete sentence. What? No is a complete sentence. And somebody says, do you want to do that? No. Now here's what a woman does. Well, I would like to, and I'm sorry I can't. I feel bad, but like my brother could want this, and my dog might need me, and maybe next time don't that's not a solid person. So notice how often we do that is an absolute woman thing. Do you want to go out tonight? Nope. And then you sit and zip it, because the justification means I don't have the right to say no. I feel guilty for saying no, and I have to soften it and make sure you know that I'm not mad at you, or I'm not. Look at the fucking dance with that, as opposed to, no, that's just not going to work for me. Okay, you get to get what you want. Kind of what Karen was just saying. You get to have what you want. These are my beliefs. Okay. No one can or should talk you out of that. So I love how you said, Kelsey, my mom wanted me to do this, but my gut and my spirit was like, oh, heck no, right? So this is the promise of boundaries. You get what you want. Now, most of us didn't even know what we wanted. At least I'll speak for me. I didn't know because of history. And so it's been the gift of the last 10 years of like, well, what do I want? What do I want? What would I like? What works? What doesn't work? So the way to kind of navigate all this is to tune in. If it feels off, it is off. Yeah. Now, sometimes it could feel off because it's like, let's say I work with Karen and we create a new program and she's going to have a selling conversation. Maybe she hasn't yet sold this product yet, or she hasn't yet sold at this price point yet. And it might be like that kind of off, but it's still in alignment. It can still be in alignment, but feel like, shit. But if it feels like, eesh, oh no. If it feels off, it is off. And you just have to trust that. See, if underneath the boundaries are, you develop such an exquisite self-trust, you are like, yes, no, yes, no, yes. I mean, you'll start sorting really quickly. It's super cool. Okay. Also check your energy and watch taking on others' stuff. This is huge. Every day, ask yourself, is this mine or somebody else's? If you wake up feeling weird, if you're sitting with somebody and suddenly you're like, God, I just feel so angry. What is going on? It's probably somebody else's. Gaslighting is real. Sorry, there's a bunch of people that are going to do that to you. Now we have a word for it. Now we understand that when you're dealing with a person that's kind of narcissistic, or certain people do that, now we have a word. I'm delighted that we have a word. And ask your body, like I told you, the family member that I had to divorce, my head, because I had bought into the family values of family. Oh my God, we're family. And so I wanted that as one of my highest values. And I'm like, what kind of a person could cut off a family member? And so I had this huge value conflict. So I decided to ask my body, like, do you want to see that person? And my body was like, no, I'm freaking abused by that person. No. And then I asked my inner child, I asked my little one, and my little one was like, oh my God, no. So I had to make a commitment, because here's the thing. If I would have said, I know, little inner child, you feel really scared. Oh, well, doesn't matter. We're going to go see him. I am a perpetrator. He's not perpetrating. I'm perpetrating. And so when that's how I was able to make the decision. And that's how I make a lot of decisions. It's like, okay, body, what do you want? Is there a little child in there? And it is your responsibility to listen to those parts and not put them in situations where they will be perpetrated again. Does that make sense? That's a little, I hope you don't mind me sharing so much, but I think it's a really good example of how I got, because I had to bypass all the conditioning, I had to bypass all the fear, I had to bypass my brain, and I had to ask my body, my child, and my heart. And I check in regularly. I check in and say, is it time to see him? Still not? Okay, done. And the last one is to get support, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to want to talk yourself out of it, or you're going to have a family member sending you hate mail, or it's not going to go well, or you're going to go, it's not that big of a deal. I should just suck it up. You're going to regress. So you need to have somebody on your team, on your back going, you got this, you got this, you got this. You shouldn't tolerate this. You know what I mean? Have a person do that for you. That's super, super imperative. Okay, and I think this is one of the last slides, and then we can do a little coaching. Okay, first, how to establish it. You notice the resistance. Internal, external perpetration. So sometimes it's internal. What? Meaning it's your own understanding of the messaging. Are there people really yelling at you that you should be a nice girl? Or is that living in you, right? So if it's an internal thing, it's you continuing to do it versus somebody infringing and violating. Then you ask, what would I prefer instead? We get to ask that for ourselves. We get to ask that. What? Because I think what happens is we just take it, and we just like, well, this is how it is. Yeah, as opposed to, wait, how do I want that instead? With this family member, I really had to go, how am I going to be treated? Like, for me to live the rest of my life, what is my stand? How will I accept people treating me? Well, the way this person's treating me, it doesn't make the cut. Okay? So you want to ask, how do I want to be treated instead? So what is the boundary? So let's say somebody is not respecting your time and they just drop in or something. You know what I mean? I'm just giving you an example. They just keep dropping in or keep asking you to do stuff. How do you want it instead? You come up. You are not a victim here. You are not, hostage to their desires. That's old school. We get to live intentionally. So you decide, this is how I want it to be. Does that freak anybody out? Because that's like, holy shit. I decide what? Okay, so then you get to make a request and make a change. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes that's going to go really smoothly. It's like, hi, so-and-so, I know you had this habit of dropping in. I just need to tell you, it kind of doesn't work. So what I'd prefer if you text me ahead of time, and then we can set something up. Sound good? And I didn't even have to go, sound good? They don't have to give the approval, but you get to decide, you get to make a request. Now, here's what happens oftentimes. An event happens, and then you're like, shoot, I should have said that. God dang it, why didn't I say that? It's never too late. That's what I want you to know. It's never too late. You can always circle back and say, I was thinking about that thing that happened, and moving forward, I would really like this to occur. Okay, so it's just make the request. You don't have to do lots of justification. You don't have is that okay with you? Please, please. It depends how close the relationship is, right? So if it's a contractor, it doesn't matter because but if it's a close, intimate person, you want to be kind and respectful, but mostly this is what I need. Okay, thoughts, questions, comments. I think that's the last slide. That is the last slide. Yep. Okay.
Yes, this is Karen. Can I ask a question to clarify the energetic thing? Sure. How can you go a little more into setting an energetic boundary and how a boundary differs from resisting the energies from someone else? You know what I mean? Where our energy is put towards resisting taking on versus the positive of setting the boundary. I'm feeling a little confused on that.
Yeah, I'm feeling confused with your answer.
Does that make sense?
Question. So sometimes, I'll give you an example. I did a a series a few years ago, and it's called Women's Wealth Breakthrough. I love teaching it. It was so fun. And I would hang up and like, oh my God, I'm so tired. What's up? What I didn't realize at the time is that people were pulling my energy. So it wasn't somebody dumping on me, but it was just pulling. And I didn't even know why I was so tired. And so it was like, it wasn't until after the fact that I was like, oh, okay, I need to do something to protect myself. So that's kind of something you just stumble in, right? That happens out there. If you notice you're taking on, so I'll ask you, how do you notice? What's a symbol for you, or the first sign that you're like, yikes? Like I know with my son, with his thing, I get into fear. I start future projecting. I wanna, and I have to go, not mine, it's his soul. But that's when I notice my thoughts, when I notice I'm losing my serenity, worrying about his future, I just gotta like, so that's how I know that I'm off. But what's the sign for you, love? So we'll start there.
Probably, I'm not someone who like feels really pissed off all the time. So feeling really angry or pissed off about something when I'm like, what the heck?
Right.
And then I want to set a bound. So it's this weird thing of like setting boundary is the positive energy expenditure,
Mm-hmm.
whereas resisting other people
Mm-hmm. I see what you mean. Yes.
is the flip side. So
Okay.
I know there's a fine line in there.
Right. There are two sides of the coin. If all you can do is resist, like, because I know you're super sensitive and stuff gets on you a lot. And if all you can do, if phase one is resist, rock it. Like if that's what you can do, if that's all you can do right now, not gonna do it. It's proactive to set a boundary. So,
Yeah.
So notice, oh, I'm resisting this. And then maybe start rehearsing in your head. How would I have a conversation? What would I have to do? Just make it happen in your head first before you then actually do it. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah, I think so. I think I just got to step into it, and I don't really want to because there's going to be funkiness. So yeah, okay. Thanks.
Funky's good. All right. Any other questions? And then we can move into some coaching around this. So the questions. Could you show the last slide again? Yes, I will. Thank you. I can do that. Great to ask, love. Okay, hold on. Questions. What questions do you have?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, this is Kelsey. I was just, when I was talking about boundaries on Facebook, I was talking about kind of work boundaries because I freelance, so I work with a lot of editors from different publications, and they're kind of dictated how much they can pay us, and for so long I was just accepting. I was just like so grateful that, like I was just like, oh yeah, sure, I'll take that. Okay, fine, and I was compromising every which way, and of course, it served me well at all. So like this talk was good for personal boundaries, but because of all the stuff I had to undo in my personal life, I think my last frontier is undoing it in my professional life, which is where I've had to learn to trust that there's some kind of reoccurring assignments that just didn't pay well, that I've had to some I want to let go, but I haven't let go of yet because I'm like, oh my God, if I redraw this boundary and say my rates are this, and if you can't pay me, I'm not going to do this work. Like, will something better come along?
Okay.
You know, it's like the trust factor.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. That is such a, hold on a second.
So I struggle with that. Yeah.
There we go. So Kelsey, it really is that. It is. So number one, so what would you fear? So remember we said, okay, so if I set a boundary, so first of all, have you decided? So the step is, I'm deciding that I'm only you can just say, I'm only charging this, because now there's no reason to, you don't have to give away everything like you did. Right. This is my rate.
Yes. And it's like someone you coached referred me to you because she was like, she will help you with this. So I was like, okay, because I really have to and then I kind of feel like I'm in this gray area where okay, if I cut it all off at once, that's really risky because I need an income,
Right. Yeah. And so you have to, so I hear you. Yeah. So there's ways to raise your rates. You can say all new clients are this new fee, or you can say, for 2 more months, I'm going to be at this new fee. Or, there's ways to kind of stage it, but your greatest, at least my belief is this entrepreneurial experience is really about faith and trust and surrender.
Yeah.
Because there's a part of you that's like, this doesn't feel right anymore, right?
Yes, exactly.
And so that's an example of, you know what you know, but you're letting fear talk you out of it. You're letting other people's decision, because here's what I also know. If you decide, well, just give me a number. Like, so just tell me the rate, or I just need enough good context.
Well, like I would say, $500, and someone still pays me $100, and I was like, I just can't work for 100. Like, I just can't. It's not worth my time.
Perfect. Okay. So you have a desire to work for $500. There then has to be in the universe somebody that's desiring to pay $100, because you wouldn't have the desire if there wasn't this corresponding person ready to receive what you have. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So if
Yes.
you believe this is in me for a reason, it's to move me to the next level myself. Now what happens is, when you're only charging 100, you only have to do so much work. But to charge 500 is like, it's going to come up, right? You're going to be triggered. You're going to, like, all your, am I enough? Who am I? Do I deserve? Blah, blah, blah. But you have to work through more mindset stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's part of it. So number one, you decide that is your rate. And I'm okay on if you transition to it, or if you go, I'm going to only have 2 at this rate. That doesn't matter. But you're going to get to a point, and I think you're there now, where you start resenting.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. So is it true that if you are at $500, nobody will buy anymore?
No.
Okay.
Because I've learned, and this took a long time, to like that. I think money's an infinite resource, and I didn't trust that for so long, and now I do. And now I'm like, okay, if I redraw the boundaries, am I sending out the right signal that I'm ready to play bigger?
So imagine that money is in front of you. The energy of money is just like sitting right in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What is the message that money wants you to get through this expansion right now? Like, what's money telling you right now?
Take me. Like, put me in your pocket. Let's do it. Like, when I see
I
it,
spilled water. I spit on myself.
finally, but it took me. I mean, this is probably more coaching than it is, but like it took a long time for me to get there, because of all the message I received when I was young, like just that kind of like tiptoes slowly toward death, kind of, and I did it, but I think I took it so literally for so long that now I'm like, wait a minute, like, that's not what I want to do anymore. And then I look around me and I see plenty of wealth and success, and I was taught to resent that, and I'm like, who am I to resent that? Like, I should just be part of it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So you have to get kind of unequivocal, and the universe is going to test you now, because you say 500, and somebody will go, I'll pay you 200. I'll pay you 200. And it's easy to go, okay. And now you can say, I have 3 spots for a $400. That's it.
Okay.
I've got 2 spots. Or you could say, hell no, it's one. That's it. Like that.
Yeah.
That you decide personally. But you have to be willing to walk away. You need, there needs to be a void. There needs to be like, okay, I'm going to let all this go in order to allow for this. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to lose all your money and all your clients, but you have to be willing to be in the fear and the risk and the trust, like, trusting and knowing that you can call this in.
Right.
So yours would be more internal boundaries. Number one, I'm going to stop selling myself out. I'm going to stop believing the small, and I'm going to have faith and trust that, like, okay.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
That's really great. That's really great. Good. Thank you, Kelsey. All right. Karen, would you explain again the connection between boundaries and making money, having a successful business? If you don't have boundaries, okay, like, do you notice kind of what Kelsey just spoke about is in the beginning, and we all do, we kind of give it all away. For me, I had a big desire to be special, because that was my wound, right? I need to be special. I need to be everybody's savior. That was my massive codependency. So I would let anybody pay anything. I would take any client, and it drained the shit out of me. And if they didn't get good results, what? Shocking, Karen did. She's been with me the longest time. We did pretty good together 10 years going on, right? But because sometimes in order to, like what you're hearing Kelsey do, you have to draw a boundary of, I'm not going to see this, and I'm only going to work with that, and I'm only going to charge that. Because if you don't have good boundaries, number one, people will drain your energy. Imagine if you have a whole caseload or practice full of people that are paying, let's say Kelsey, you know, everybody paying 100, you have to see so many people. And it's just like, ugh. As opposed to, nope, this is my sweet spot. And so it's just the energetic of like spilling yourself out, just depleting, and you can't create from depletion. So, yes, I'm glad. Yes. Okay. Any other questions? So if you have any questions on this or any immediate, like I got some little bit more time.
Well, that's part of the deal with boundaries, I think, Therese, is the fear. So if I was listening to somebody yesterday talking about the reason why he has a following is because he lets his crazy show. Because then those people, you know, so, okay, I can't help but let my crazy show, but I try to not, you know, I try to be, no, I'm going to be normal. Well, that's vanilla and nobody wants that. But the deal is, that's where the fear comes in, is well, maybe I don't have a tribe. Maybe nobody wants my crazy.
Yeah.
So that's where that whole fear part is the sticking point, I think.
You have to get for everybody, every boundary, every situation, and excuse my sassy language, but you have to not give a fuck. And that is so hard for women who have been trained to be nice girls and focus on everybody else.
I think it's hard for everybody. I know,
but I think it's easier. I think men, and I don't mean to, you know, do gender bashing, but men have been taught to cut off. Men have been taught to compartmentalize way more than we, you know. So I just feel like it's difficult. It's more difficult to be seen as a bitch, to be seen as a person that like won't see everybody, won't take care of everybody, won't take on everything. That's very difficult. And there's sometimes women who judge other women, right? So watch that in yourself. Watch that in yourself. Do you judge other women who have massively strong boundaries? Does that threaten you? Does that, like, there are coaches in the industry that if you sign a contract, it doesn't matter if somebody dies or you're sick, you're still paying your money. No, that's a strict, harsh boundary. I personally don't like that, because that's like, I wouldn't want that. But that's a boundary that for them, it's like, no, that's it. That's how I run my business. So do you look at that and go, oh my God, they're being so mean and it's horrible? Or women that just go, no, you know, if you can't pay me $20,000, you're done. I don't want to deal with you. Are you judging that? Right? So just notice how you be in reaction to a strong woman. That will show you a lot about yourself. Not that you have to be that, but are you triggered by strength? Right? Okay. So let's see. I have super struggled being present. I have really been taking note of myself, distracted and shut off. Resistance is very deep. Yeah. Leah, it's okay. You know, that's why it's recorded. You can watch it again and just know what comes up for you. Men are all unapologetic. Yeah. So like I have it's so silly. I have a guy who did a bid for me for a contracting piece here. And he's like, I'll get back to you tomorrow. And he did it. And a week goes by. And I say, you know, what ready? And another week goes by. And I have this like, why the hell would I tolerate that? Right? So I write back and I just go, no, I'm not, you know, if I don't hear from you by the end of the day, we're not going to do this. I'm very disappointed at how you're running your business. This is not who I thought you were going to be. And I'm not. Now, there's a part of me going, God, but I was like, no, why should I tolerate this? But I still was judging myself and I wasn't an asshole. I wasn't harsh. But there's always this stuff that's going to judge you. So Kelsey, when you're like 500 or bust, baby, notice the back voices. Notice other people's stuff. Notice what gets triggered in you. That's the key out. Okay, what if you're intimidated or have fear of strong people? Yeah. Yes. Now, you could want to ask yourself why, because are they bulldozing you? Are they rolling over you? Do you have a history of being pushed over and being bullied? So ask yourself today. Here's one thing. If there's ever a kind of an overreaction, it's probably historical. So I don't know how old you are, but like if you say, how old do I feel right now? Like if this strong person's coming at me with boundaries, or you know. Do I feel my grown-up self or do I feel 6? And if it's ever an overreaction, it's about history. So you just go, wow, because I turn into a little kid when somebody's real strong in front of me. So that's the way out, right? That's how you notice it. Okay, any other questions, comments, feedback?
Good session.
Yay, this was really fun. It just was kind of impromptu. I just have been seeing a lot of like boundary stuff, and I'm like, I need to talk about this more. Okay, so here's what I would love. So if there's, I got time for another couple of questions if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, I want to hear what your biggest, so two things, what your biggest takeaway is, and what are you going to do about it? Two questions. And I would like to hear from you if that's possible, right? So if you want to just put your voice in, I'd like to hear that. Biggest takeaway, and what's one thing you're going to do differently?
My biggest takeaway is that I'm being driven by some people who are dead. How crazy is that?
That's pretty crazy. Maybe we could let the dead rest and you get to choose.
You know?
Right? Boom. I love
That's
that.
a lot of responsibility to put on them.
Freedom! See, that's freedom. Yay! You're never too old to get freedom. Great.
No.
Yes, drawing boundaries leaves room to attract what you really want. Yes, Kelsey. Yes, 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 yes. Perfect. Love that. Okay. Biggest takeaways. Yes, Linton.
For me, it was learning about the internal perpetrators, because
Yes.
I'm my worst enemy.
Well, Karen has dead people talking to her in her head. So that's an example of an internal. You continue to perpetrate and they're not even freaking here. Right. That's great. That's great. Good. Love it. Thank you. All right. Leah, Kelsey, Karen, takeaways and what you're going to do about it. And maybe you already stated, but I just want to hear your voice.
Hi, Therese. This is Leah. I really struggled in following that. I was just seeing myself really shutting down and getting distracted by stuff. And what I was just noticing, like, my internal self doesn't even want to hear it.
Absolutely. And so here's what you notice. Whenever there is confusion, you're on it. Like this is a funny story. So as a therapist, I of course went to therapy, right? And here's what I discovered. There's this one time my therapist was telling me something, and I just go, "I'm sorry, what? Say that again." And she would told it to me again, and I was like, "Could you? I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Would you tell it to me again?" And I made her tell me 4 times, and I could never get it. And what I realized, and I was a therapist, and I know this stuff, but I realized that I had hit what I call the stupid wall. Not that I was stupid. But it's the unconscious resistance that's going, no, because that means, love, you're at the core of it. That means like, woohoo, at the heart of this is something real important, and everything in your unconscious is throwing up smoke, so you're on it. So resistance, just like, okay, cool, this is where it is.
Yeah, no, I get it, and you touched on a lot of stuff. I had a lot of voice recordings on a phone that I lost, which was very interesting that I lost it. About what you touched on several times about self-victimization and how I'm no longer been perpetrated. I'm perpetrating myself. So you were really bringing that back, and I'm really still 18 months later just pissed off that phone is gone, because there was a lot of work and realization in that, and I was working on writing a book. I was just saving it all, you know. But it'll come back one day in time in life. But I think that's what it really is, because I don't have, in full accountability and responsibility when I look around my life and I look around the decisions I'm making and not making, which is a decision, that it all comes back to my shoulders. I have all these traumas from my past, but I've done 15 fucking years of therapy, 10 years of a 12-step program. And I've done lots of other self-help things. Like, it's not that I don't know. I know, and I just keep making these decisions to listen to, in the 12-step program, the itty bitty shitty committee, and just be locked into that.
Yeah, well,
it's interesting.
Decide that you're going to start, and it's little for you. It's little tiny steps. You're not going to go. This is little tiny new behaviors. So every day, journal at the end of the day, this was a new behavior, this was a new behavior. Just start like little steps. So,
But it's not new behavior. That's what gets me. Is it's like it's on my. I know my shit. I know it, and I'm trying to understand what I guess would be new is why I won't let it go.
Right. So that's there's a part of you that's holding on to it. And so just ask what the payoff is, and we don't have the time for more coaching, but what's the payoff? What do I get? Who would I be without it? Those would be great questions for you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Kelsey, takeaway, leap large into my new coaching business. Woohoo! Have talks with money, raising rates, and with the editors. And you got it. Just decide. Okay, and remember fear. What's the fear? What's the resistance? What I'm hearing? I'm going to be the homeless cat lady if I raise my rates. Oh my God. Yeah, maybe not. But anyway. All right. Karen, takeaways for you, love.
I think in wanting to help I'll say my family, trying to approach things like asking in a neutral way so people can hear it and stuff when I have a lot of emotion around it. So I've been cutting off my own emotions so that I can remain neutral, which probably isn't helpful. And I know there's a boundary issue in there somewhere, but that just kind of popped out at me. So.
Perfect. It's practice. And, it's harder with our families. It's really much harder. Work on the baristas and the contractors and the people that you don't care about. It's so much harder with your families and intimate people. So much harder. That's graduate school level because you've been doing the dance for a lot of years. So, all right. This has been fabulous. And if you're watching this later, thank you so much for watching. Comments below. I want to hear what you learned, what you need, and we're going to do a challenge. I don't even know what that's going to be because I'm going to sit on the weekend and figure something out. But just be prepared for a little challenge if you want to play, so you'll get support in boundaries. Okay, so much love. Thanks for playing, everybody. Bye. Take care.